Okay, welcome friends. Another Thursday opportunity to be together. This session will be a little bit different. As I mentioned, or as Freiling Sensei mentioned in his announcement, I'm just going to share with you, or Nathan's going to share with you 17 minutes of the kind of raw footage of the blessing of the dedication of Hei-Sei-Ji, the temple, the place of peace on the Furman University campus, September 5th, 2008. And I'm just going to ask him to play it and literally be thinking of questions that you have. You know, look for evidence of key principles. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? And I'll be happy to answer whatever questions come up. By way of a preamble, I just have to give of many, many thank yous that go into this project that are part of the dedication ceremony. I must say that, you know, all things big or small start with one little spark, one little connection, one little encounter. I think I said last week, you know, if I give a public seminar, I'm looking at people like, who out there might replace me or be a head instructor, or just starting with this first connection, this conversation. And that conversation was with a member of the donor family, a person who was very, very close to me, Chibusa Suzuki. And it was her family that built the temple originally in Nagoya, Japan. And out of our connection and connection to Furman University, it was the family's wishes to actually move the temple from the family estate in Nagoya to the Furman University campus, something that's never been done before. That is to dismantle a full temple and reconstruct it outside of Japan. Not to get ahead of myself, but I'll answer one question. The reason why that is so unusual is because it was a family temple. Had this temple ever served a lay community? It is a Jodo Shinshu temple, by the way, that's the denomination of Buddhism. Had it ever served a lay community and be serviced by a regular priest, you would never move it. It would be considered bad karma. But this is a very different kind of temple. It's a family temple, so it did not serve any interests other than the family who built it and created it, the Suzuki family. And it's an incredible story. There's a website of the Place of Peace at Furman University where you can get more information, background information. I also discussed the project in chapter 6 of Living with the Wind at Your Back, if you want to see a little bit more. But with just those thank yous, Nathan, I'll turn it over to you to kind of guide the ship, and hopefully you can go full screen, and we won't be seeing each other, I guess, for 17 minutes. So please take out a pen, take notes. Here's a great opportunity to ask any question you'd like, and I'll do my very, very best. And if I don't know the answer, I'll just say, I apologize, I don't know right now, but I'll find the answer for you if I can.
Thank you so much, Sensei, and hello, everyone. As Freiling Sensei wrote in the email about this session, there's a guiding question to sort of focus your attention as you're watching this video. And that question is, what evidence of key principles can you see and hear in this dedication ceremony? I'll read that guiding question one more time, and then I'll drop it into the chat box as well so that you'll be able to reference it while the video is playing. So what evidence of key principles can you see and hear in this dedication ceremony? Okay, I'll play it now.
When we live our lives held back by the grip of past wounds and injustices, or when we live consumed by fear and worry about our future, we fail to really live at all. Only in the present moment do you really have an appointment with life itself. Right now, our present moment is especially abundant, for it is truly a historic moment. One might ask, however, why is this a present moment? Well, living fully means being present during your life appointment. The average life expectancy is about 27,500 days. It is my hope for just a few of those days, people will find quiet comfort coming here to the place of peace. Here, quiet reflection and meditation may help us to sort things out, connect the dots, and accept the many conflicts we perceive in daily life. One might also ask, where is the present moment? Or even, what is the present moment? Well, here's an engaged learning answer. The present moment can be experienced simply by knowing that your in-breath is your in-breath and your out-breath is your out-breath. This Shugyo Tase Kigan Shiki ceremony is about our experiencing connection right now, in the present moment, even with every breath you take. This kind of intimate connection is the seed of our connection with each other, and especially our deeper selves, even our unconscious selves. Know thyself. Today we are preparing the place of peace to be a learning space where all visitors may keep an appointment with their deep, often unconscious, quiet self. The place of peace is a gateway for positive personal transformation, as well as positive transformation for our local community, our global community, and our planet. I am truly humbled to be in your midst, and humbled that we can experience this connection together in this very present moment. We give thanks for everyone's attendance today, your attention, and even your awareness in this present moment. We give thanks for your many kindnesses that collectively have given rise to this perfect state of our being together now, celebrating this wonderful occasion in this present moment. We give thanks to all the donors and artisans that made this occasion possible, standing together here, right now, in the present moment. I would like to personally thank Furman University President, Dr. David Emery Shai, and members of the Board of Trustees for their leadership, vision, and courage. We also give thanks to all the Furman faculty, administration, and staff that contributed to this 4-year project. We express deep gratitude to the Suzuki family, and especially Chigusa Suzuki for her heartfelt connection to this very place that can be felt by all who knew her in this present moment. We stand together now in humble praise of God, the universe, and all creation for bringing all the causal forces together to create this special place and present moment that we share right now. Today we consecrate Hei-Sei-Ji as the new place of peace. This is a moment of consanguinity, of blood affinity, and deep connection with all living things. For those in this generation and in many future generations who will visit the place of peace, let them come first to this chozubachi, this cleansing basin. Let them become purified as whole persons. Let them experience a taste of purification in their heart and in their mind and in their body and in spirit. With this water, let every person cleanse their consciousness in the present moment. Let each person become prepared for the light of conscious awareness to be revealed to them at this place of peace, not only in this historic moment, but in all future present moments. I will be using water, salt, incense, and our breath in this group dedication ceremony at the place of peace. I would like you now to take 2 deep breaths with me in the present moment. And now we celebrate water. Water is our foundation, the abundant source of life on earth. Water represents for us now the purification of all things, especially bringing the darkness of unconsciousness to the light of consciousness in the present moment. Water that purifies. Water that gives life. Here at our feet, we create the base of Shugyo for positive growth and development. This is our birth, this is our rebirth, this is our life connection. And now we celebrate the earth, for the earth is our foundation. Salt represents for us earth, as this is our earth connection that can be experienced in all things in the present moment. Here is the earth. Here is our mind. Here is our heart. Here is our awareness in all directions, which can be experienced in the present moment. And now we celebrate air and time, for air and time are our foundation. Incense represents for us now air and time as we celebrate the union of all peoples, past, present, and future, in this present moment. This side is Ah and represents all life. Ah is our out breath, which we can know in the present moment. This is our life and birth connection. This is our life and birth connection. This side is and represents transition and impermanence in all things. Is our in-breath, which we can know in the present moment. This is our connection to the past and future experienced now in the present moment. Now it is time to perform Ki-Ire, a blessing of connection, and Ki-Barai, a blessing of cleansing and purification. Together, these last blessings are performed in concert in this extended space. The blessings reveal the original connection, love, and abundance that is at our feet at all times in the present moment. Following this last blessing, I will ask David and Seiji, Mr. Nakajima, Council Katamoto, to help celebrate the Kagami-wari ceremony after. 심보주의 간노 속견조 심보주의 간노 속견조 심보주의 간노 속견조 신보질의 감노소구견조 신보질의 감노소구견조 신보질의 감노소구견조 Thank you very much. Thank you for all your help. Fantastic. Thank you. Really happy you could come. Dozo. Have you been inside? No. Oh, may I? Yes, dozo. Congratulations.
Okay. Sensei, thank you so much for sharing that video with us all. All right. So the guiding question again was, what evidence of key principles can you see and hear in this dedication ceremony? Feel free to drop your name into the chat box if you would like to come off of mute and share with the rest of the group something that you noticed that you'd like to share, or a question that you have for Sensei. Go ahead. Ilyana Shaner Sensei, dozo.
If everyone's going to be shy, then I'll make an observation that I'll admit that Shaner Sensei invited me to do this exercise before he planned this class. And so I had my observations, but I missed the most obvious one, I think, which was Otomo and the role of Jim Eubanks in this ceremony, which was so supportive and quiet and present. It was really awesome. So that was something that when you first asked me the question, what key principles do you see? I was looking mostly at you. And then on this hearing, the second time, then I was really struck with Eubanks Sensei. We'll call him, for he surely is in many realms.
Thank you so much. Freiling Sensei mentioned rhythm in the chat, as did Matthew. Would either of you like to come off mute and elaborate a little bit on what you saw that gave you that sense of rhythm? And it doesn't have to be just Freiling Sensei or Matthew. Anyone could chime in on that topic.
I'm happy to start. I don't know about you guys, but it was a perfectly constructed taigi in my mind, and it had rhythm that never broke. There was never a feeling of separation between Shaner Sensei and the Otomo, Shaner Sensei and the audience, Shaner Sensei in the place of peace, Shaner Sensei and the commitment to being in the present moment. There was never a break on all those dimensions, and it's something that was beautiful to watch, and the fact that it's captured on video is awesome.
Thank you, Sensei. Nick, do you want to add something?
So I mentioned that, well, not I mentioned, you know that Sensei is always saying that translation of first principle, extend key, wasn't quite right. That's key is extending. And the whole ceremony actually shows and outlines this principle. Even if you listen to the sound of the bell, it's kind of, you hear the sound and it goes to infinity. And Sensei and Otomo and everything that is the way Sensei was expressing himself confirms that. So it never stops. It's a feeling of continuous expanding motion. So the only problem I had to confirm for myself, it's principle number 2, number 3, and number 4, because you don't feel that there is opponents there. So you have feeling that you respected and understand not your opponent's mind, but your friend's mind here that being surrounded by. So that's my ensured, the last one, the confidence, perform with confidence. Everything shows the confidence. Even when you look at the family, you feel this confidence. And they build this confidence actually by bringing this shrine from there to here, which actually kind of, nails it down, I would say. So that's my impression. That was great. Thank you.
Nick, I would, just to clarify, I think when you do Aikido, you should always do it with the idea that you're doing it not with an opponent, but you're.
No, I was kidding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was an Aikido joke.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that connection, yes, is definitely purposeful.
Shutka.
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 Маленький русский shutka.
Yeah. Very Kuruski. Yeah. Well, these are good observations. I'm interested in more observations or any questions that came up for anybody. This is wonderful. Maybe I'll just say, yes, rhythm is very purposeful. Obviously, using the bell for Sei-Ji was very purposeful. Eubank Sensei, by the way, since that time, at that time, Eubank Sensei was the youngest abbot of a whole order, Buddhist order in America, the youngest. And since that dedication, he's received a doctor in chiropractic medicine. He's received a regular MD in traditional medicine. He's finished his internship, and he's now completing his residency in rehabilitative medicine at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. So this is Eubank Sensei, who's still the abbot of the order, but he's also one of my students from Furman University. So he's doing great. Thank you. And thank you, Jim. Surely you'll see this at some point, but it really was a nice feeling of connection with him and the family and everybody.
Thank you, Sensei. Kirsten, go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you, Sensei. This was, in addition, really struck me were two things. One, the emphasis on gratitude, the thanks for everything that brought us, for the gift from the family, for the presence of the matriarch who gifted this. It's amazing.
Yes.
And the contributions and the presence of everyone there. And the other thing was, as you were talking interconnectedness, aimed as well as acknowledged several different elements. So the breath, the water, the earth, and then air and time presented by incense. And so as you were talking about that, I envisioned a symbol, right? So we have the rice paddies underneath, the earth that gives rise to the water as well within those paddies, and then the kettle with the steam rising.
Yes.
And I wondered, why is it that we have breath at the beginning, time at the end? Is it because breath is important? And I guess broader question, why that particular order?
Good question. So not the order so much. I was trying to get the traditional elements that Toi Sensei always taught me, earth, air, fire, and water. So those were all connected. But when I wrote this, I envisioned, really I was thinking of a big form of Kyatsuho, that this whole ceremony was doing Kyatsuho. In other words, enabling and facilitating connection, not only with the physical surroundings, because the temple signifies ecocentrism. Buddhism is a nature-centered worldview. So that's that notion of consanguinity, that we all have this blood affinity with all things in nature. But also you heard repeated many times, this temple was an intergenerational temple. The characters Hei-Sei-Ji come from 3 different generations of the Suzuki family. And 2 of those generations had already passed away. So my friend Chigusa, the matriarch, she already passed away. So the survivors are the children, Yuri and Seiji, that you saw sitting in the front row there in the kimono. And then in the second row behind them was Chigusa's sister, who flew all the way from Denmark with her husband. I was, the gratitude and the coming together was across time. Plus, this is a family temple, so traditionally it was there for things like birth and funerals. That's A and Un. And I didn't realize you couldn't see the gargoyles at the corners of the temple, but one is doing A with the mouth open and one is doing Un, inhaling. So there's all this symbology going on at the same time. But I was trying to reach out to multiple generations, both past and in the future. Then there's all the stakeholders, of course, that made this possible, like the donors, the donor family, the Furman administration, the board of trustees, faculty, staff, and then all of the public that gathered there. Many were faculty members of Furman universities, like all of the Asian studies faculty. Many of my students, some of you here on this call were there. So it might give a different framework if you just think that I was just trying to create Kyatsuho for everybody and to experience this connection in the present moment, because that's all we have. And to your question, Kirsten, breath, I figured, how can I help a layperson who knows nothing about Ki training, knows nothing about Toi Sensei or my connection with this family or the whole thing? What do you have available right now, even for the kids that you saw there attending? Well, everyone has their breath with them. So if I figured if I just focus on knowing that your in-breath is your in-breath and your out-breath is your out-breath, and that this is to bring you back into this present moment, and I invited them to give me their awareness and their attention to feel it with each other. And it really was fantastic. You know, the weather cooperated as well. You might have noticed at the very last scene, the sun came out and you could see the sun was setting, but the sun came between the clouds. It was rainy and overcast, and they were expecting thunderstorms all day. And so the administration was, what are we going to do? You know, there's no tent, there's no covering. Well, the universe just not only held off, but right at the very end, this giant rainbow appears above the temple. And that was pretty just amazing. But anyway, Kirsten, that was a great question. All your observations just made me say, you know, the whole thing was just kind of facilitating Kyatsuho.
Incredible. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, other questions about any aspect of the ceremony? There's a lot of symbolism in there. I don't know how much of it you picked up on.
Sensei, Adam asked a question before you started talking about Kyatsu that I think you started to answer his question in that answer about Kyatsu. But I also think that it would be interesting for you to say what you told me about Kiyokuri and that experience you had at the ceremony of Kiyokuri. So Adam's question was, In an open space with many attendees, I wonder how you approached leading a ceremony where not everyone might be able to hear your words.
Well, I was mic'd. What you didn't hear is I had a little mic on the lapel, so there were speakers outside. So Adam, I wish I could give you some like sexy, super mystical reason, but no, I was mic'd, and I even said, I think Harold Sensei was kind of overseeing or manning the mic, because I said, when I do the breathing, the inhalation and the exhalation, I tried purposefully. I mean, I was exhaling and inhaling rather loudly, but I was just trying to give the participants a sense of connection. The other thing, when you do Ki-Ire and Ki-Barai, not always, but traditionally you do it in 4 directions, which what I did is the singular direction. What you couldn't see also is, of course, the shomen with Toi Sensei's calligraphy, Shinpo Uchire Kan no Sokugenjo, is at the shomen of the place of peace. And then the temple is oriented such that at the end, and I said, this last blessing will go in this extended space. And I used my hands like this. The temple is oriented above, it's on a hillside above the Asia Garden and over a pond that has a water feature, a small waterfall directly in line with the shomen, purposefully. So literally the center of the place of peace was way out in front of me at the water feature that the temple is facing. So the idea is the temple is just one piece. There's the lake over here, there's the mountains to the north, and then there's the Asia Garden over here on the other side. And so this place of peace is not the temple itself, it's the whole surroundings. So I did the Ki-Ire and Ki-Barai to the primacy of 2 directions, plus I didn't want to kind of blow people away to the sides. But I did bow in 4 directions to close the ceremony. The one time Toi Sensei said, it's okay to go in 3 directions. He always taught me to do this when the plane's taking off. And he says, but you only have to do it in 3 directions. He says, you're on a plane. He'd say, no sense going backwards. So I like, okay, Sensei, you know, I'll do it 3 ways. You know, I'm doing my little silent thing here in the airline seat. I think I've told you before. We hear the engines go, and I immediately go into this kind of, not to cause attention or anything, but this silent Ki-Ire and Ki-Barai, and Ileana's doing this crucifix thing over her, and yet people are going, what is it with that couple? Like, one guy's doing this thing, the girl is doing this other thing. Anyway, that's all those different elements that I use there at one point or another, I learned from Toi Sensei. Not all in one time. He didn't teach this stuff like in classes, but he knew that I was really interested in these spiritual matters, as I've shared with you before. So whenever he would have an encounter, and by the way, Toi Sensei, you know, was very highly regarded as a deeply enlightened person, which is unusual because he didn't have like an affiliation, i.e. Buddhism, Taoism, Confucian. He was against all that kind of thing. And yet he was highly, highly respected. And when it comes to these other religions in Japan, especially new religions, this is a wormhole that I won't go down or I'll take all this time, but I was able to be the witness, that is the third party witness that Toi Sensei would select to join him for very, very important meetings where it'd be like spiritual arbitration. And this happened more than once, by the way, where I was asked to be the witness, where Toi Sensei was asked to adjudicate a disagreement in terms of the line of succession of a religion. That is, maybe the founder of the religion passed away. In fact, that's how it always happened. And then the followers, there were like 2 camps. And they had to agree that Toi Sensei's word would be final. And so that there wouldn't be a he said, she said, there would be like this interview that Toi Sensei would have conversations with each leader to be. And Toi Sensei, they would defer to Toi Sensei's judgment of whose depth of understanding is more sincere and more true, and that everyone would agree that whatever Toi Sensei decided, that would be the successor in the religion. Tamura Sensei also taught me many of these things, because when O Sensei would go to his religious services, Omotokyo, things of that nature, he knew that Tamura Sensei was really interested in that kind of stuff, so he would take Tamura Sensei as his otomo when O Sensei did that. And of course, as you know, I'm was very close to Tamura Sensei. So between Tamura Sensei, Toi Sensei himself, and I'll say the Kono family, Mrs. Kono was Toi Sensei's, I'll say, spiritual advisor. He didn't talk about her much or write about her. You know, he talks about his 3 teachers from Ichikukai and Aikido and Nakamura Tenpu Sensei. But Mrs. Kono, he knew for like 40 years. She's the one that actually taught him about Kiide, Kibarai, and many other things of this nature that I learned from her. And she actually attended the opening in 1990. And then she passed away when I was there training with Toi Sensei in the summer of 92. She had passed away about 2 months before that. And her daughter, the Reverend Yuriko Kono, and her daughter, the granddaughter, Hoe, I became friends with them as well. In fact, did kyatsu for both of them a lot during that visit where they came for like a week, just to pay their respects to Toi Sensei following the death of Mrs. Kono. So anyway, I was just privileged because Toi Sensei knew of my interests. This would all be private stuff, but you know, people ask me, where'd you get all this stuff? And I say, well, Toi Sensei and his network, which would include these other religions that he was asked to adjudicate the succession plan. He never talked about that kind of stuff, but you know, it kind of goes along with Saikonton, the triple sage. That is, Toi Sensei was adamantly non-denominational, non-sectarian from the get-go. These principles in this training was for everyone, regardless of, you know, anything, culture, gender, race, it doesn't matter. And so from the very beginning, Toi Sensei was always crossing those boundaries. And I think that's another reason why he was asked to be this person to adjudicate. He was so highly respected. And then why did he ask me? Not only my religion, not only my interest in these things, but as I got to think of it, you know, I'm a gaijin, right? It's rather obvious. And so there's a certain kind of, you invite as your witness a gaijin, a non-Japanese, who's also a doctor. Like he'd always introduce me, Dr. Shaner. This is Dr. Shaner, who I've asked to join us today. Dr. Shaner is a longtime student, all this kind of stuff. You know, and I recognized, okay, this all fits with what Toi Sensei wants to do. But I just, you know, so respect that trusting and deep relationship to learn these kind of things. And it was my pleasure to try to utilize those various uses of symbolism, earth, air, fire, and water through the ceremony. So anyway, that's kind of the background of this stuff. I figured if you didn't ask it, you were thinking it. So I figured I would just tell you. Any other observations or questions?
Sensei, would you mind talking to us about the construction of the temple itself and the way that symbolizes many of the principles that we've been talking about already?
Yes, good question. Yes, and you can see some of that on the EKF website. I think right next to that 6-minute abbreviated version of the blessing, there's another video that says Hei-Sei-Ji, or the place of peace in 4 seasons. And it's beautiful sound, beautiful pictures. But there's one small section there that shows the Japanese artisans that came obviously from Japan. I mean, everything was shipped from Japan in 2,400 pieces in 4 40-foot shipping containers, shipped actually in 2005, and then stored in temperature and humidity controlled warehouses until we raised the money to reconstruct the temple by inviting all of the artisans that constructed the temple originally in Nagoya back. In fact, literally some were the same. So what you can see in that video as you can see it unfold going up is there were 7 wood specialists. They don't cross-train at all. 4 wood specialists that do nothing but, there's not a nail in it. It's all interlocking joinery that you can see that beautiful craftsmanship or just little tastes of it in that other video. And what that shows is that while everything in the universe is interdependent and interconnected, we don't notice it, it's invisible. And just like the temple, there's all these different levels of the temple that represent levels of development, where the top crowning piece in the roof, the ceramic roof, is a lotus flower at the very top, indicating, you know, the highest level of an enlightened consciousness. Building from the earth up. There's actually an opening in the stone of the place of peace that's purposefully open to the ground underneath the foundation to let the earth breathe up into the temple. So all these construction things that, again, you could spend hours on just trying to share. But maybe, Nathan, what you're referring to is that in daily life, you know, we become blind to the present moment. We become blind to the degree of the interconnection of all things. And our training is to just slow down, just be quiet, just pay attention. And in the same way, all of the beauty of these interlocking joints, once they come together, you don't see it. You just see this beautiful temple, and you have no idea the level of joinery and complexity that's underneath. And I said 7 wood specialists, 4 tile specialists. When I say specialists, that's all they do their whole life. What do? I build roofs, tile ceramic roofs on temples. Or you're a craftsman and you specialize in wood. Or at the very end, there were 2 artisans that did the plaster. There's 4 coats of plaster. And these artisans, by the way, are the very best in Japan. They work on the national treasures. And the temple itself is made of the finest materials, even by Japanese standards. All of the temple is made out of kayake wood, extremely rare, extremely dense, extremely valuable. Because Mr. Suzuki, when he built it, he loved the artistry, the craftsmanship of temple building. So imagine, I don't know, for example, who hired Mozart to write music for, you know, the king and queen or whatever it is, but it's kind of like that. Mr. Suzuki was a very wealthy man and wanted, it's almost like he was a, what do you call it? A person who supports the arts, or even supports an artist. Well, he wanted to support the finest, he wanted to support the finest craftsmen and create the very best materials to create this temple in honor of his father. His father had passed away and he wanted to build this family temple that was an intergenerational temple. But yes, the everything about it was imported and was first class in terms of the quality of everything. So just a zillion interesting stories. Like, what do you do in the Port of Charleston, right? This temple was trucked, packaged very specially, brought down to from Nagoya to the port, went around the world through the Panama Canal, up to the Port of Charleston, South Carolina, and then put on the back of semi-trailers to Gaffney, South Carolina, where it was going to stay in a temperature-controlled textile warehouse, which is what the family business was in textiles. But what do you do when you're there? You're the guy assessing import taxes on goods, and the guy at the Port of Charleston says, "So what's in these containers?" And they say, "Oh, it's a temple." The guy's looking down his log. Let me see, temple. I don't see temple. Like, what do we charge? Like, so it turned out that the mayor of Greenville, longtime mayor, a wonderful man named Knox White, happens to be an import-export attorney. And we got Knox involved, where he negotiated that since the temple was coming to Furman University, which is a 501c3 nonprofit educational organization, we should just waive all of the tariffs and fees. It's a temple, okay? So anyway, little interesting stories like that abound. But I could, talk about that all day, and I can, but I won't, because I'm waiting for the next question, because I'm disciplining myself. We really do have 5 minutes. If anyone has the question that they just have been thinking about, but they were afraid to ask because there's no such thing as a nonsensical question. All questions are good.
I'm reminded of Lynn Curtis Sensei and the words, remember, it's experiential. But what do you do when it's virtual? It's experiential.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Yeah.
New world.
I don't know if everyone caught that shutka there. And this is Lynn, Curtis Sensei's wife, Lynn. She would say the same thing to me, so it was like a joke to both of us. But she would, she can counsel Curtis Sensei in ways just like Ileana can give me some feedback that probably other people wouldn't. But she would say, "Okay, Chris, remember this seminar is experiential." What she meant by that is don't talk the whole time. Let people practice Aikido, So I'm guilty of the same thing. So thank you, Lynn. Thank you for Ileana for bringing that up. I'm just saying, yeah, it's experiential. So I'm being quiet. I'm going to be quiet next week too. We're going to train ourselves to ask questions. I had to learn as a professor. Someone told me early on, when you ask a question and no one says anything, and then still no one says anything, and then it gets to the point where you start thinking, "Whoa, no one's saying anything, it's getting uncomfortable." Someone advised me as a young Furman professor, they said, just wait it out. It'll kill them. If you just wait, they will ask a question. Bill Clifford, you probably got the same, you're laughing, so you probably got the same, you probably gave that advice to some young professor like me. Yeah, just wait it out. Everyone will become so uncomfortable they'll ask a question. Christelle, were you raising your hand or no?
Yes, I was, but how do you feel doing this this ceremony?
How did I feel?
Yes.
Really full. You know what I felt like? Remember last week when I was reading Toi Sensei's writing, like his own Saigon Ton, in praise of the key of the universe? And I said, this is like a first order experience where you're just feeling, for me, I don't know how to explain it. It's like everything feels full. Just this kind of aliveness. It's not, the Toi Sensei would say, it's not like ki moving in a certain direction through your body. It's in all directions. You might face somewhere and say, I'm thinking in this direction, or I might do ki-ire, ki-barai, never at someone, but over the head or over the building. But that's not the feeling. If you ask me, what's the real feeling? It was just joy, gratitude, and abundance. I mean, it was fun. I'd prepared, I already wrote it. I thought it all out. I was going to do what I said I was going to do. I gave this, script to Eubank Sensei, and I said, here's the marks, here's the bell. Oh, somebody asked me, I'm sorry, Nathan, you asked me about Kiyokuri. So Toi Sensei, Kiyokuri is also a kind of Kyatsuho. I'm sorry, Nathan, my brain just jumped to this, but we're almost out of time, but I'll say it anyway. So Kiyokuri, you can do Kyatsuho at a distance. Okay, you don't have to touch people to do Kyatsuho. So Kiyokuri, Toi Sensei would describe that as like doing a ki shower. But it's also what you do in a blessing. So what I was doing is doing a special blessing to the Chozubachi, which is the water basin, which is symbolic of purification, of course. Hence the water, the purification, putting it to your lips. But when I extended my hands, what you do is like you're doing Kyatsu surrounding the whole thing, just like you're surrounding a seminar before you even teach it. You're surrounding this class to all of you before you do it. This is what Toi Sensei taught us, and I think what maybe I think this was in the raw footage. I don't know that it's in the edited version, the 6-minute version of this blessing, but you may not remember. But in what we just saw, as soon as I put my arms out like this, and I said, let everyone cleanse their consciousness in the pleasant moment. And it was, kind of dramatic, and I'm extending my arms this way. Well, Mr. Nakajima, the gentleman in a suit with white socks on, sitting in the first row immediately opposite the Chozubachi. I was facing him directly when I gestured with my hands like this. His wife, I think, was next to him in like a green kimono, front row. He was the president of the Aichiken construction company that rebuilt it. So he's like the president, sitting next to Council Katamoto from the Japanese embassy and the family. Anyway, but I don't know if you saw, as soon as I did this Kiyokuri, let everyone cleanse their consciousness, he goes, whoa. Like he moves way back in his chair, like, whoa, what was that? And I thought to myself, I just had this little flash, like, whoa, David, tone it down. Like Mr. Nakajima is going to fall off his chair. But anyway, Toi Sensei, that's what he taught. It's the same feeling that comes out of Ki-ire, Ki-barai. And by the way, it should be very soft and kind. The voice sounds big, but there's nothing martial in the sentiment of Ki-ire and Ki-barai. It's very soft and gentle. It might be loud with a big ki, but there's no tension at all. And that goes with this feeling of Kyatsuho, a group Kyatsuho. So I don't know, Crystal, is that a good enough description of my feeling as just being full and rich and multi-directional? Yeah. Yeah. I'm so grateful. It was fun. Can you imagine? It was like fun. It was like, I get nervous for things, but that wasn't, that was just like, wow, this is going to be so great. I was probably just thinking about the weather is the only thing that, gee, I hope it holds off.
Would you say Shimpo Chude Kano Soko Genjo sums up your feeling at that time? Yes.
Immediately in this present moment, you are experiencing that you and the universe are one. There's not even an I am in that. The thought of I am is not there. It's just fullness. Just fullness. Almost like like everyone's in this soup. You can feel, when somebody moves, there's an effect. All that's happening all the time. We just don't see it. So our training is to peel the banana, peel the onion, become more aware of what's present. Isn't that convenient? That's why you can relax completely, because everything's already done. You don't have to do. It's like, wow, thank you very much. The less I do, Toi Sensei used to say, do nothing and all will be done. What he means by that is not nothing like sit on your hands and just be lazy. He means don't be attached to anything in particular. Don't be attached and all things will be done. So that's like any kind of second order, third order, there's some level of attachment. Oh, that's pretty interesting. I just got you know, the universe works in funny ways. Guess who just sent me an email? Curtis Sensei just sent me an email. My thing went ding. I went, oh, I forgot to turn off my email. I haven't read it, but I just got, so I'll have to tell him, oh, I was just talking about you. Actually, we were talking about Lynn. but that's good. It's a wonderful thing to have these relationships, you know. I'm just treasured. You know, I just speak my truth, right? My experience, I try to share it, just what it is. It's different from other people. But, you know, I so admire Curtis Sensei, you know. He's there sharing his experience. And that's all we have. I can't have his, you know. I can't have his relationship with Suzuki Sensei or Toi Sensei or whatever. And he doesn't have my relationship with Tamura Sensei or Toi Sensei either. Even though we share Tamura Sensei, Suzuki Sensei, it's just, you know, it's a wonderful thing when you kind of grow and develop your life, and then you find yourself teaching, and then you find your mentors, you know, alive in your memory, and you have to draw on that all the time, because that's what you do. So I so appreciate, you know, my connection with people like Curtis Sensei and Ohata Sensei, and Kashiwaya Sensei, you know, everybody. It's a wonderful thing. So anyway, I share my experience, and clearly the Hei-Sei-Ji was a wonderful experience for me, and it continues. And I'm grateful that you're here, just interested in the process. So I won't keep you. So Nathan, is this where I say thank you very much?
This is good, Sensei. Thank you.
Okay, and as for next week, I haven't figured that out yet. So if you have any, if you have any ideas, let me know. All right, thank you, everybody. Love you as always. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.